Coming up, a Sad Styles production.
Get into it.
And welcome to the Retrograde Video Game Podcast, where this week we talk about one of the most iconic movies of the 1990s. Yes, of course. We are finally doing it. Schindler's List. My name is Andrew Baskin. With me, as always, is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself.
Mikey, the Jimmy to your Bill Aaronworth.
Yes, you are Jimmy to and I'm Billy.
You know what? I think when I watched this as a kid, and by the way, we're doing obviously the cult classic. I don't even think you could call it that movie, Double Dragon. This year from 1994,
yep.
I believe it was.
Yep.
As a kid watching this, I think all kids naturally lean towards Billy.
I think so.
Watching this, really liked Jimmy.
Okay, watching it, yes. Watching the movie, I completely agree with you. It's about two brothers, the titular Double Dragons.
Yes.
And we'll get
more.
Well,
no.
Well, okay, no, I guess.
This episode, usually we spend a little bit of time off the top talking about some general gaming nonsense and stuff. I have way too many thoughts. You and I went out last night together.
Yeah.
I had already finished watching the movie. You hadn't finished yet. And it was all I could do to not just talk about this movie. I've been just pining to be able to sit down across the room from you and talk about this. The biggest thing you worry about when you sit down to do a movie like this, obviously a movie based on a video game at a very particular time of movies based on games that kind of completely ignored the source material.
Yeah. What
you risk is having a mediocre movie with nothing to talk about, and this is anything but. This takes some big fucking swings.
They take chances.
Yes.
I was gonna say is that like in the most successful year for video game adaptations, Last of Us, Mario, we just saw
Borderlands
trailer come out.
Twisted Metal the year
Twisted
before.
Metal, the TV show. Okay, great. All of a sudden, don't talk about those. No. Well, Five Nights at Freddy's. Excuse me.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Something we've done on the podcast.
Yeah.
Five Nights at Freddy's. No, are we gonna talk about those? No, we're gonna talk about the peak time for video game culture when they tried to first go like, you guys like video games?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll give you video game movies, and everyone's like, no.
We'll name characters in our movie after your video games, and that's about it.
Yeah, that's where you get to.
So we appreciate. We actually had a couple listeners reach out and recommend that we do Double Dragon. Usually in the past, but just recently, this past week, with all the updates and trailers we've seen for Borderlands and all the conversation about adaptations, someone recommended we do Double Dragon because in the spirit of this podcast, going back and playing classic games, boy oh boy, Double Dragon was a classic game. This was a classic bomb. The movie was.
Oh yeah, this is an amazing movie. 1994. Scott Wolf.
Yes. Who is from
Party of Five?
Is that where he's from?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't sure. The whole time watching it, I was like, recognize him. Don't know where he's from.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's Party of Five. I also just again like handsome guy. Like,
oh yeah,
constantly I'm like, because there's a big thing that they were very upset that they cast Scott Wolf in it.
Yes.
Because it wasn't a blonde guy. It wasn't an Asian gentleman. There was a few things. I kept reading. They're going like, fans, were very upset at the casting for the fact that he was not Asian, blonde. Yes. And they keep going on. You're like, I feel like you could have stopped at the first one.
New karate? How about that?
Yeah. Yes. He didn't do a single. Anytime you see him fight, it is a body double.
How many times does he lean in, even with the body double? His go-to move is pointing at his enemy and saying, "What's over there?"
Yes.
And then running away, pretty much.
We'll talk about the movie beat by beat here.
Yeah.
But it feels aggressively most like it was written by children.
Oh, well, it feels like it was written by children in the way that you write, like in a creative writing course, when one person writes a line down and then you write the next line and then fold the line back, and you just keep writing what you believe is a story based on the only sentence before it, but not seeing all the sentences that came prior to that one. It just is completely unhinged. It's like a reptile eating its dinner, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I kept thinking about this one very specific thing where when Mikey and I were kids, our families would like rent a cottage together and then we spend the weekend together or something like that.
Did you purposely say cottage instead of chalet because chalet makes us seem out of touch with the common folk?
Yeah, chalet means cottage you go to in the winter, not Swiss Alps escape that we would helicopter to. I don't know. There's this
our chalet was called The Dump.
It was called The Dump.
Yes, yeah.
Because it smelled like cats. It was not good, but whatever.
You know what's worse than...
It was the best, actually.
You know what's worse than things smelling like cats because there's so many cats in them? Things smelling like cats and you don't know why. That was The Dump.
Do you guys have a cat? No. Oh, God. I was thinking about this when we were little kids. We would put on like plays for our parents.
Yeah,
which would just us like making stuff up and then eventually fighting.
routinely, like invisible people. And I remember very clear our parents coming to us with a note about the plays that we were putting on, going, you have to cut down the number of random fight scenes and how long they would last, because it just involved us just like, ha, 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 yeah, ha, ha. And I was watching this going like, this is very similar to a note that I received when I was a kid.
Honestly, but it made me realize where those instincts to insert fight scenes randomly would have come from. Like, this is such a movie of a particular era.
Yes.
And when we finally decided to watch this one for this week, in my mind, I was like, I'm sure I've seen it. Like, I'm sure I've seen the movie.
I thought so too.
But I couldn't remember watching it. I vividly remember most of this movie. Like,
do you really?
There's so much about this movie that I remember. The little double dragon, like double high five thing that they do.
Yes.
My brother and I used to do that all the time. There's the scene where the little brother has like a VR headset on and he's going like, whoa.
He's doing a roller coaster.
Yeah. And every time I put a VR headset on, I think about that scene. I just always assumed it was Three Ninjas for some reason, which may as well have been.
Okay, so that is the movie I directly compared it to.
Yes.
Because when a little kid is astonished with it's or this, or they've assumed a power, like a superhero power, like a Shazam type thing. And then you are so powerful or able to, I give a kid a total pass going like, whoa, that was crazy. Or like you put a guy's head through a door and you're like, whoa, okay, see you later. And you like do something crazy and you're like, I would totally, when you're an adult and you do it, it's just annoying.
An adult who has survived an apocalypse. Like, like these guys need to get over it.
Okay. Why don't we start talking about the movie? Because I want to start talking about the setting.
Because we could go through the setting. Legitimately makes no sense.
I know.
I think keep this in mind as we move beat by beat through the movie. Oftentimes, what happens is a script exists out there, and someone thinks it's good but not quite there. They buy the IP to an existing property or the rights to make a movie, and they just slap the name on an existing script. In my mind, this screams that. A script that was already out there, and then someone said, why don't we just put the Double Dragon name on it and then make that movie?
Yeah.
And I think there are a ton of points that we'll kind of touch on as we move through it.
Yeah. There are other movies that are very clearly, I'm going to go with inspired by, like they rip off other movies so nakedly.
Oh, can you dig it, sucker? Yeah.
The whole opening is Mad Max.
Yes.
And so that is the thing that you open to, which I think is, well, you don't open to that. Sorry, that's not the opening scene.
No.
The opening scene is 400 years ago.
Let's get into it. Okay. This is well, no. This is okay. Let's talk about it. This I can't, Andrew. I am so excited to get into this.
Let's do it.
Double Dragon, 1994, directed by first-time director James Yukich. Also, I think the last time.
Only time director.
Yes.
He has 100 credits to his name, but they are all music videos and live concerts.
Yeah.
He's done a ton of stand-up specials, music videos, but this was the only movie he ever did.
Which, a great way to make a career is music videos and stand-up specials and stuff. But, maybe, who knows whose fault this movie was, but this director, James Yukich, clearly didn't save it. It was written by Paul Dini, among other people. So Paul Dini, Neil Shusterman, and Michael Davis are credited with the writing. Paul Dini was the creator of Harley Quinn. Not the TV show, the character.
The character from the comics.
So I was looking up their credentials just to see if anyone had been, involved in any other projects that I knew. And I just saw so many Batman credits for Paul Dini. And when I saw Harley Quinn, I was like, you know what? There is an attempt at humor in this movie that I would almost draw a comparison to something like Harley Quinn or a lot of those animated Batman movies. So I assume that's what it was. No, he just came up with the character Harley Quinn, and maybe does some writing on those as well. But yeah,
Harley Quinn was created for Batman the Animated Series, right? It's not from the comics.
I don't know for sure.
Okay,
I don't know.
Someone will correct me, but I've always thought it was from the animated series and then reverse engineered into the comics because they liked Harley Quinn as a character.
I think that would make sense.
Yes, I'm just saying that's a remarkable thing. That also Batman the Animated Series. Fucking rips.
I can't wait for the
new one.
Yes, the new one is going to be unbelievable.
Do you see they've redone the theme, the iconic theme and opening?
Oh no,
and they've put it out and it looks so good because it looks the exact same except just better.
Amazing.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I purchased the entire series a couple of years ago, and from time to time I'll just like pick a random episode and put it on. I love the Batman animated series. It was produced by Gramercy Pictures, which is an anagram for Gamer Cry, which conveniently is what I was doing this entire movie. It grossed $4.2 million.
Yes, that's great.
I would love $4.2 million.
Give me $4.2 million. How much do I have to spend though?
Oh, about 7.8 or something like that.
This movie lost money.
It lost quite a bit of money.
I laughed so hard when it was showing up the production studios, and I'm like, who is this going to be? MGM?
Yeah,
Warner Brothers?
Yeah.
No, Gramercy, and I wrote down the other ones, but none of them you've heard of.
No.
And you're like, and promptly probably went into business in no small
Probably
part
because
this
of
movie.
this.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
It did result in a spin-off fighting game on the Neo Geo, which was almost required because this movie really didn't have much at all to do with the movie. You have Jimmy and Billy, who are characters from the game. Kogashuko, the main villain, is not in the video game. Lisa, I believe, the character with the whip, they call her Flash in the movie, is a villain. Abobo is a villain in the games.
Lisa Lash.
Oh, I always thought they were saying Flash. Okay, that makes sense.
It's Lisa Lash, and I was like, oh, really? That's just okay.
Yeah,
because she has a whip.
She has. Andrew, that's
whiplash.
I actually didn't put that.
Really?
Well, also a lash is a whip.
Yeah, you get a lashing.
Doesn't have to be a whip.
Yeah, like Michael Shannon in Boardwalk Empire.
Or me most nights before I go to bed. Yeah, so the game came out on the Neo Geo. It was originally supposed to be kind of like a Street Fighter, the movie tie-in, where they have the actual actors who played the characters doing their sort of like FMV sequencing and standing in as, but that didn't happen.
Because no one saw it.
No one saw it.
No one saw it. They'd be like, what the hell is Scott Wolf doing in this?
The game didn't end up coming out, and people who were involved in the movie say that was probably a good thing because they would have lost even more money and even more companies would have gone out of business as a result. So how about some taglines, Andrew? There were a few taglines.
I love that.
Let me know which one you like the best. Okay. And this isn't a game, by the way, where I make them up and you decide which one was wrong. These were all actually used. The first tagline, evil has just met its match.
Okay.
Perfectly generic.
Yeah, that could be for anything.
How about this?
Okay, please.
Feel the power. Live the legend. It's the ultimate kick.
So they couldn't decide. And they just said all of them.
Yeah, I say there were 4 taglines. That one itself was almost 4 taglines. Power, justice, darkness, light. Sure. I could be describing so many movies.
I was just going to say, that's the movie we just watched. Eh?
That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
2 halves of an ancient puzzle are the only hope. That kind of makes sense.
That makes sense. Yes.
Okay. You want to get in beat by beat for this movie?
Yeah,
Andrew?
Let's start just talking about this movie.
Okay. I can't believe I had to say this, by the way. The movie starts off with like an intro. There's a narration going on about, the legend of the double dragon. The double dragon in this context is the medallion that's in 2 parts. I actually had to rewind the intro to understand what they were I can't believe I had to do this. Already I'm like, how long is this movie? An hour and a half? Fuck, that's an hour and a half too long. I'm already going back in time so I understand. But here, generally speaking, is the setup.
So they have a voiceover.
Yes.
That starts the whole thing.
Yes.
Explaining what is happening.
Yes.
And you sit there and go, okay, it's 30 seconds. It's not very long. It's like, they are too. Okay, this also made me laugh really hard. It's a classic thing like Lord of the Rings or whatever. It's like they were worried that they were in trouble. So they crafted a piece of jewelry that would give them unending powers. And I just sit there and go like, so that's an option all the time? Can you just do that?
It makes no sense because, okay, so here's the thing. It says, we'll go through beat by beat this thing and we'll finish with that because that I think is the most important part of that intro.
Yeah.
A civilization was under siege, so a king sacrificed himself to make this medallion. He realized the medallion was too powerful after making it, so he had to split it in half. But like, what kind of like, if I'm making a soup and I only have limited ingredients and I'm like, this soup's too fucking good. I gotta split this thing in half. One half goes to my fridge, the other half to the freezer.
Soup is too good. My neighbor needs to take one. If they come together, I'll be like Bobby Ops and just like worried that I set a nuclear bomb off.
It makes no sense. Like where do you start when you're like, guys, we're in trouble. We got to make a medallion.
Yeah.
I heard a legend. You just have like, I don't know, like Eye of Newt or something. Like, what do you mix together and then realize we fucked up? It's too much.
See, that's like the thing. It's like, I found a glowing jewel in the mountains and we're going to use it. Cause then it's like finite. You have one.
Yes.
So you can just create this shit?
Yes.
It's just like, I just don't get that.
They just metallurgy or something?
Yes.
Who knows?
So,
but you say 400 years ago, Andrew.
Yeah.
It wasn't 400 years ago.
No.
Because the scene that we're seeing, there's this old ancient Japanese village that's being taken over by people with whips, which in my mind, of course, a village can be saved by a medallion if it could be taken over by whips. Yeah. Like that means your defenses aren't that great.
Yeah.
And then they pull out this like fucking crazy nifty computer and everything. The problem is the person who's giving this voiceover is Kogashuko, who is
Robert Patrick,
the villain of this movie, which means he's talking about, because he's talking to his own henchmen, like explaining the story to them. So this invasion,
I never put this together,
was taking place simultaneously.
It was happening in modern day.
How do we simultaneously have ancient Japan and post-apocalyptic Los Angeles?
You mean New Angeles, but we'll get into that.
Exactly, yeah.
But then again, like my whole time for this kind of stuff is so screwed up. Like The Last of the Samurais was around the same time Abraham Lincoln was.
Yes.
And you're like, huh, okay. It doesn't make any sense.
What was the thing that you said is like a samurai could have sent like a fax
yes.
to Abraham Lincoln? That's crazy. That
blows your mind so much. So you see the siege of these henchmen that are dressed in black and gray evil garb, but traditional garb nonetheless.
Yeah.
And attacking this little village of seemingly monks.
It seems like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so while they're doing that, there's one guy that's like watching because he's a real coward. He's not fighting at all. He's like, my friends are dying. I don't care. And he's like, oh shit, I got to get out of here. And he runs. Lisa Lash, for whatever her name is, sees him. He's like, I'm going to chase that coward.
Yes.
And he is the worst person because he just takes her right to it, to the point that he runs into the cave and she's like, he's in this cave. And he looks at her and then looks immediately to his left at the jewels, almost like it's an inside job.
They almost should have done, if their writing were more competent for this script, it would have had to have been an inside job. He opens the gates or something for them.
And
but
she hands him like a roll of money or something like that.
Yeah.
Because he literally makes eye contact with her and then goes, like, don't take this.
It's like he says, he's like, I hope she does, like out loud. He's like, I hope she doesn't find that medallion.
A medallion has powers that you would not believe. You're like, we've already heard the voiceover. Man.
So she brings Lisa Lash and the other henchmen, and this is how you know it's happening at the same time, is because they're the ones who took over the village. Yes. They bring the half of the medallion to Kogashuko, who you find this voiceover is him explaining why they fucked up in not bringing both halves of the medallion. Tell them this story before they take the trip to Japan.
Yes, and we're going to talk about Robert Patrick in a second because that's going to be 20 minutes of my life. But he is now monologuing as the villain, walking around his hilariously 80s lair.
It's amazing.
And he's just like, this is why we have all the greatest power in the world, and I'm the smartest man alive because I sent you there and I wanted, and yes, and it's now time for the first time for me to gaze upon this jewelry. And he opens up and he's like, where's the other half? And you just have to think like, maybe check first before you start patting yourself on the back so much.
He counts his chickens before they roost.
Hatch?
What is it?
Catch your chicken before you hatch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think.
Did you say catch your chickens before they hatch?
No,
because that's really easy.
Count your chickens. Don't count your chickens before they hatch. I think because some will die probably. Oh, wow. Now that I'm thinking about it, that's really dark.
Shit. I wonder how many people, I wonder what the body count in this movie is. Some people had to have died.
Okay, no, because one of the ones, I don't think they did. There's a real lack of guns and things like that.
True.
And the one person that I thought was definitely dead, they made a point to go like, and he gets up and he runs out.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the body count's really huge. So Robert Patrick does that. Then, of course, gives his henchmen a tongue lashing.
Yes.
About, how they screwed up and how there was another half of the jewelry. So Robert Patrick plays the villain of this movie.
Yes.
He is dressed like modern day Johnny Depp. And he's got eyeliner and the goatee, and I was like, "Oh wow, this is really good."
Or like 90s David Bowie or something like that.
Sure,
kind of a mix between those. Yeah,
and he is single-handedly the best part of this movie
by far.
He is amazing.
He is giving me Tim Curry from Command and Conquer vibes.
Yes.
He's giving me what's the guy's name from the Mario movie? Easy Rider. What's his name?
Easy Rider.
The Easy Rider himself.
Peter Fonda?
No. Or
you're thinking of what movie you're thinking of?
I think it's Easy Rider.
Super Mario? It's in the Super Mario.
He plays King Koopa. He plays Bowser.
Jack Black.
No. The original.
Oh, Dennis Hopper.
Dennis
Hopper's the other guy in Easy Rider. Okay, sorry. Yes. Wow, you were right on that one. Yeah. Nice. So Robert Patrick just absolutely eating. Can I just read this quote from Robert Patrick?
Yes.
Actor Robert Patrick, by the way, 2 years after T2. This is 2 years after his, incredible.
So he had his choice to do whatever the fuck he wanted.
He could have done anything, and he did this. His other thing was like Wayne's World, playing a cop.
Yes,
playing the cop.
But that was also like a nod to
100%. So he's like, no, I'm in on this. I like this. I'm taking fun roles.
Yes.
Okay. This was a movie. I did that on paper. I thought it could really work. It didn't really work that well. There's. I love this.
I like the idea that this is in like the press junket.
Yeah.
Tell us what you like about this movie. Honestly, not that much.
I read the script. I was like, this could work, and then I watched it. I'm like, that didn't work. But he said there's some funny aspects to the character. It was a liberating experience to be funny and try to be menacing at the same time. I'm proud of my performance. It's pretty extreme performance, and I got to meet Scott, Mark, and Alyssa. So that's cute.
What a great little egg.
Lisa
Like,
Lash, though.
what's the best thing that came out of this? I got to meet Scott.
Yes. You see Scott's eyes? I got real close to them.
He has kind of like Tom Cruise energy in this. Like he's got that young Tom Cruise energy. Scott does.
And he didn't know what level to read anything at. Everything was kind of like a 9.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just like, what?
Yeah. He's again like very much a 90s karate movie protagonist.
Totally.
Like very much of this time.
He's got the subtlety of an Ash Ketchum.
Okay, so let's we cut from this scene with Robert Patrick and the henchmen, which, by the way, a huge issue with this movie that I have. The narration describes the king sacrificing himself to create this medallion. It's too powerful. Oh my God, I can't believe I used the wrong ingredients. Whatever the fuck happens.
Yeah, whatever.
Breaks them in half and gives them to his 2 sons. No, he didn't.
No, he didn't at all.
They don't have it. The narration doesn't mention at all their like quote unquote mother figure in this.
So does that mean, because once again, Billy and Jimmy are brothers.
Yes. Yeah.
And their father died. We find
Their father
later
was like the fucking king of Japan.
We find later a lot of questions. A lot of questions. Scott Wolf is one of the brothers, whatever. We find out later Robert Patrick killed their father in kind of an odd throwaway line where he's like, and I killed your father. And no one had been wondering how their father died the whole movie.
Well, it's because Robert Patrick told them that he sacrificed himself for it.
Yes, it's like
to make the medallion.
That makes total sense.
This timeline doesn't make sense. If you sacrifice yourself to make a medallion, you die when the medallion is created.
Yes.
Somehow, still alive. He's like, with his dying breath, he's like, it's too powerful. Cracks it in 2.
Yeah,
with his
powerful.
bare fist.
Yeah, like that's insane. So throwaway line completely, but yes, their father died, and I guess their father was the one that made the amulets or received one of the amulets.
No, made the amulets, because they talk about the king who made the amulets, split them, and gave them to his 2 kids.
And so that's supposed to be
Billy and Jimmy.
Yeah,
but they never got the medallion.
They never got them.
About the medallion.
They are unaware of them entirely.
I don't even think they fucking met their dad, dude.
He has multiple times tried to throw this necklace away.
Yes.
He tried to go I don't want to do this anymore.
and in fact, I mean, we're skipping ahead a little bit, but that's what activates it?
Yes, is your refusal of it. You're like complete, what is this? Like negging?
I was going to say, yeah, the medallion has read the game.
If you talk down to the medallion, it gets super turned on, it gets powerful.
Okay, so we go from this, the tongue lashing of Lisa Lash to a karate competition. This is our introduction to Jimmy and Billy, the brothers.
Yes.
A 2v2 karate competition. I want to walk you through this, Andrew, because something about this, I'm a combat sports fan, right?
Yeah,
You're a combat sports fan.
Yes.
I want to read to you the order of progression in belts in karate.
Yeah, karate.
Okay? You have your white belt, your yellow belt, your green belt, purple belt, orange, blue, brown, red, black.
Right. Red's that high. I didn't know
that. Yeah. I would have thought it was lower.
Yeah.
They kind of like take, blue, brown, and then red. Like orange, red should have been. But they
orange, red, brown, black.
Yeah, you would think it'd be something like that, but it's not.
We should take that up with karate. It's a new thing, so I'm sure they wouldn't mind messing with the
My dad, master karate, who was killed by Kogashuka.
Now you tell me.
In this competition, it's a 2v2. You have a blue belt and a red belt facing 2 black belts. This should be no competition.
We find out later Billy and Jimmy are 4th degree black belts. They say it out loud.
So why are they wearing a blue belt and a red belt?
I'm not sure. It feels very disrespectful. It feels like you're sandbagging these people.
That's true.
I'm not that good at this. What do you call it? Karate thing? Okay. You want to bet $1,000 on it?
Yeah. So in my mind, I'm watching this, the black belts should absolutely kick ass. And they kind of do. The black belts do win, which makes me wonder, what if they got the medallion? Kogashuka would be fucked.
He'd be so
absolutely
fucked. This would not be a movie. The movie would take 21 minutes.
100%.
Yeah.
The black belt, these guys, they don't even establish them as the best karate people.
No.
They lose.
They lose, but they lose on a technicality.
Okay, well, I mean, there are rules in Love and War, Andrew.
Okay.
Sun Tzu had something to say about that.
I'm glad you're saying that there are rules. This is a big part I want to talk about. You are in an underground fight club. They say that constantly because they're afraid that they think they hear the police at one point and everyone shuts up for a second. And so it's very blood sport, right? Just people are waving bets around and it's dark and misty and stuff like that. Except there's a referee. And then at one point, I couldn't stop laughing at Mark or Jimmy, who is who is not tagged in the moment, looks up at the scoreboard to see what the score is. And I was like, there is a scoring system that actively happens like on the fly. It's like fencing almost.
Yes.
Like once you make contact, you get a point.
How many drops of blood do you draw?
Yeah.
Like, you're right. This is blood sport. This is post-apocalyptic. This should be a fight to the death.
It's blood sport, except there are a very specific amount of rules.
Yes.
And one of the rules is you cannot jump on someone's back and noogie them for a while.
That's not allowed, Andrew.
And because that's what disqualified Billy.
It goes against their Bushido. And if there's anything we've learned about Bushido blade, it's that you cannot noogie. Do not throw sand in the eyes.
Yes.
Do not hit a downed opponent. Do not noogie them.
Do not noogie them.
Do
not show up your opponent. Which is so funny because so they lose.
Yes.
Jimmy and Billy lose on this technicality, and their opponents are handed a big trophy, right? And then rub it in their face a little bit while they walk out. And Billy's like, "Hey, fuck you," and kicks him right in the head. And I was kind of like, "These are the heroes of this movie." These guys seem like real bastards.
I want to see this. I want to see the version of this movie that the camera follows these two black belts.
Yes.
Who just narrowly defeated a red belt and a blue belt.
Yeah.
And what goes on in their lives.
Yeah.
Like if Billy and Jimmy live in an abandoned theater, where do these two black belts live?
Yeah, it's gonna be like a walk-up apartment in like Van Nuys or something like that in California, whatever that will be called.
This is great though. Okay,
It's like a Rosencrantz and Guildenstern
dead. No, that would be amazing. No, but post-apocalypse, you have to live in an abandoned building.
Yes.
Where would you want, say you don't have to worry about like raiders and stuff like that.
Yes.
Everyone's kind of settled in. You just pick your spot and people are going to leave you alone. Where would you want to go?
Okay, Mikey is saying this because they jump ahead to, well, I guess right now.
Yeah, it's pretty much, it's all coming up.
They show an abandoned theater that these guys are living on the stage. They have this whole apartment set up.
Yes.
And I was saying how this period of time was really like peak headquarter time. Like
yes.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in their incredible old abandoned subway.
Yep.
Was so beautiful. I used to love that as a kid. I was like, oh my God, I really want to live there. Even the Power Core in this have this beautiful like headquarters that's really cool and spray painted. What building would I want to live in? Oh man, that's a really good question. It's hard not to break like a restaurant or a pub because you'd have so much access to fridge and cooking supplies and things like that. But it's not the most aesthetically beautiful.
No.
Maybe like maybe an old library.
Old library would be cool.
Yeah.
I think too many people sleep on, like everyone's going to choose like a shopping mall or something like that. I think too many people sleep on penthouse.
Oh.
With roof access so you can grow vegetables.
So you would just live in a place that people live in.
I would live in, yeah, but
we're talking about a theater, a subway station,
afford.
And you're like, you know what I do? A house.
Andrew, there's a reason. There's a reason why people don't live in theaters now. Sure, they got good bones, but they're not well insulated. It's gonna get really cold.
Ghosts.
Yeah,
you can't mention a lot of Shakespeare's plays out loud.
You say Macbeth, and all of a sudden you're haunted.
Yeah,
you got an old timey ghost following you around. I don't want that. There's no ghosts in condo buildings. We need to establish that.
Oh yeah, this is if you're new to this podcast, Mikey moved into his condo with clear intentions of, because it was a new condo.
Yeah,
that means there couldn't have been any ghosts.
That's not the only reason, Andrew. It is new, but that's true.
Yeah,
that's true. One person did die in my condo, and I was really pissed off at them because now maybe we could be haunted.
The condo you live in?
Not the actual unit,
just in the building.
In the building.
Oh, okay.
But the elevators. I don't want to go in the elevator and there's a ghost in there with me. That sucks.
Would ghosts? Well, yeah, I guess that's true. Would ghosts use modern conveniences like that? Just get in an elevator and rise up,
or would they just float through the floor? Be like,
oh. Yeah. See you later.
There's two sides to it. Yes. One, the condo was new, so no one had died in it. That's great. Two, the condo is so much higher than anything was built in the 1800s.
Right.
And that's when the scariest ghosts come from,
yes.
The 1800s.
Yeah, we don't have modern ghosts.
We don't have modern ghosts.
We don't. We only have old Victorian children.
I've only heard ghosts go boo. I've never heard them say sheesh.
Sheesh.
Ever.
They're just mewing.
So thankfully this place isn't haunted. The condo that I move into in the apocalypse won't be haunted.
It blows my mind. You're like, you can move anywhere, and you're like, a nice apartment.
Well, but you've seen Station 11, right?
Yes.
There's this whole setting. There's a portion of it where they move in. They kind of like hunker down in someone's like really nice condo, and I'm like, yeah, that would be pretty nice.
Yeah.
We
also seen Last of Us. They took over a football stadium.
That's a great one.
That's great. It's too big. You need a community of people.
Yes.
But and that's why department store makes no sense. 50-foot ceilings, I'd be like, this sucks. And the lighting, the lighting's terrible.
Yeah, but a condo though, Andrew.
It's already built for humans.
It's already built for humans. So we're in this city. It's established as New Angeles, as we mentioned. It's kind of post-apocalyptic. Did you gather what year this movie's supposed to take place?
Yes, it says on screen.
Yes.
2007.
2007. This is the year that we're living in.
17 years ago today.
And then, but here's where it starts to fuck with your head. There's a news broadcast that comes on. It's Vanna White
and George Hamilton are the news anchors, and the weatherman
is Andy Dick.
But like Andy Dick as Andy Dick, and Vanna White as Vanna White,
and George Hamilton
as George Hamilton.
Okay, this is my favorite part of the movie.
Yes.
This is my favorite part of the movie. They show New Angeles all being, and it says 7 years after the big quake.
Yes.
Not even earthquake or anything, quake capitalized.
Yeah.
So we just know what that is. Also, it's a rad way of saying earthquake. So that's
100%.
And you see the city and it's just thrown into chaos, right? New Angeles. Okay, couple things. An earthquake wouldn't make you lose loss, because that just means
lose loss?
Los Angeles.
Oh,
like why would you go like, well, we got to change his name now, and loss doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Yeah, like it doesn't new, and they keep, but Angeles, not New Los Angeles. I was baffled at that decision. Yeah. The whole city is being propped up by a series of pillars because of the earthquakes that are constantly happening.
Yes.
That they lightly reference all the time, like, oh, are you a little afraid of a little aftershock?
Yeah.
You know, like, what's your problem? Which seemingly, yes, this
100%.
ruined my city multiple times. I would be scared of it.
There are elements of this movie, you're going to think I'm joking, that I really, really liked. The world building is number one with a bullet.
Amazing. We're going to get into a bit because I know which one you're going to talk about.
There is a read that you can put on this movie that is incredibly right-leaning. And I think that whole thing of like, you're scared of a little aftershock can very much be compared to the, what are you afraid of, a little cold of COVID? It's like, no, I'm not afraid of a cold. I'm afraid of what shut down our world for a little bit.
Killed a few million people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So forgive me if I've got
Oh, so you believe in that? That's interesting. Okay. I didn't know that. I love New Angeles.
Yes, Andrew, I so agree with you.
I love the city. I love the thing. And I love this news broadcast. It is singularly my most favorite part of the movie because it's a way of explaining what is happening in this world.
Yeah. It's the only time an exposition dump is done within the context of the story itself.
And what a way to do exposition. Instead of one like Billy looking at Jimmy going like, don't you remember the earthquake of 2007?
Like they do that a lot in this movie. But
ton.
That's what makes no sense to me, or maybe why I think that this script existed prior to Double Dragon being attached to it, is because there are elements where it's like, let's teach the viewer about this through a news broadcast. Yeah. Every Double Dragon element, you know, the medallion and Kogashuko and the history of the kings and all this stuff, that's all exposition dump. But there's something in the world building itself that makes me think maybe that's what was stripped out of the other script and then had the Double Dragon stuff applied to it.
There was so much in this that I loved, where just like even them telling the story and like George Hamilton looked over like, oh, terrible. Okay, moving on with the thing. I was just like, man, there's little news anchors. And the other one was flood time will be 10:07 and it's going to go up to Hollywood and Vine.
Yes.
And that was in the background. I laughed so hard at that idea that the floods, well, of course they happen. And I'll tell you how far they're going to go up.
Yeah, that's part of the weather report.
You expected him saying 2 feet. No, he's going to tell you where street access
It's so
goes.
good. It's really
loved
good.
It.
I would take that movie all day long. Let's have a movie with the black belts.
Yes.
It's a blood sport kind of movie in the world of New Angeles. Awesome.
I love it. New Angeles makes also Nuevo Angeles, but I'm just whatever. We're not doing okay.
Honestly, in terms of what the world would actually make it, it would become New Angeles,
which makes no sense whatsoever.
Yes, exactly. I'm not talking about this world, that world. I'm talking about our world.
Oh, our world. No, 100%. Yeah.
So now we bump forward a little bit and we got to run in with a gang. You got Jimmy and Billy. They're in their car with their mentor. I thought at first it was their mom, but it's not.
I thought it was a love interest for a bit too.
Yeah, kind of a similar age, but this love interest knew their dad.
Yeah, knew their dad.
Kogashuko.
But is not their mom and is not related to them.
Yes.
But seemingly knows all about the Double Dragon.
Yes. Yeah, so almost like maybe a confidant of their dad who he entrusted. He split it up. He put one in Jimmy's crib, one in Billy's crib, the medallion, and then realized that was not a good idea.
Done here.
Picked it up, gave them back to this trusted person, and she hid one half and kept one half for herself.
So they're driving home from the karate competition.
Yes, they are.
And they're saying, we missed curfew. And this is the first reference to curfew other than the news station.
Yes.
So it turns out there's been a truce made between the gangs collectively and the police saying, you get daytime, we get nighttime, and that's the way it is. To the point that on the TV, they're like 12 minutes to curfew. I loved.
There was a moment like at this point, I have in my notes, like, let's do a check-in, because at this point in the movie, I was like, guys, I think this might be good.
Yes.
I think this might be a good movie.
Because they're driving something that looks like the Ecto-1 from Ghostbusters.
Yes.
That is fueled by garbage.
Yes.
Love it.
Which no wonder we're getting these climate change things. We just burned them.
Oh, sorry, that was another thing. The intro to the news thing was like a graphic of like flying through New Angeles.
Yeah.
Except it's all smog.
Yes.
And it's like, and it's just but like seeing the highlights still, and I was like, that is so funny that they're just
It's
like,
really
hey, this is
good.
the way it is. So they're garbage filled car, and they pull up and they go, oh god, the gangs, and it's the first gang you see is a gang of clowns.
It's a gang of clowns.
And I was like, I am so in right now.
like
I'm
Mr. It's led by Mr. Mime.
And he's like, and he has big hands on. And I was like, yes.
Like they got them from the Mickey Mouse props department. Like those are the kind of mime gloves that
Yes.
they're wearing. Eventually they keep driving. And I was thinking, I'm like, if they're painting this picture of a Los Angeles that is lost to the water, climate change, smog, there's like an element of the news kind of going a little bit crazy, and it's like, this is what happens when we don't pay attention to the environment, whatever it is. It's kind of leaning there. And then there's a bit of a transphobic, homophobic joke that gets them stopped at the side of the road. You get one of the gang members who's trying to like fix a car from behind, looks like a woman.
Yeah.
Turns out they're wearing a wig.
They almost just got attacked by a gang of clowns.
Yes.
And yet Scott Wolf can't keep his dick in his pants.
No.
And so he sees somebody dressed as a Catholic schoolgirl, and he's like, let's pull over.
We should
go talk to this person. They stand up straight and take off their wig, and it's a man.
Yeah.
And they both look at Scott Wolf, and he's like, "Ay, achi, chachi," and you're like, it could have been worse.
You also get Jimmy being like, "You're right, she is your type." It's like, okay, good little homophobic joke. Yeah,
could have. He also could have said a slur. So I was like, you know what? Hey, great job, guys.
Handled it about as well as they could. And this is our introduction to the Mohawks, and you get this sense that we are in a world of New Angeles where "quote unquote" gangs is not typical Los Angeles gangs. It's the Warriors. This is like huge Warriors yes. Influence here,
because everyone has to have a theme.
Yes,
they said, "Welcome to gang. We are this.
We are this.
And you got to do it.
Grab your baseball bat."
Yes.
Or like the baseball Furies. No. That's already been taken.
No, that's already been taken.
Yeah.
We can't do that.
Yeah.
So at this point, they have now trapped them with a very large car.
Yes.
So they're stuck in the middle of the car that was not working, and a very large car, and then just 30 other people that are on top of the car.
Yep.
This is one of the first references where everything is futuristic, where they can pull down their like the shade. And it's a computer screen just giving you immediate analysis of who's in the car, who they are. And this is where we hear that they're fourth degree black belts, by the way. Because he's like, it's Billy Lee. And that's when, what is his name? Bonobo?
A Bobo.
A Bobo. Bobo.
Yeah.
He is the leader of the whatever. And also Billy is reading about what their car is.
Yes.
He bench presses 800 pounds.
800 pounds.
I was like, whoa. And they're steroid freaks. That's the Mohawks. That's what he says.
Except
he goes
for the sidekick.
Who is very thin.
He's a combination of like Jesse Eisenberg and Mouse from The Matrix, the guy who designs the woman in the red dress.
That's a great one. I thought originally it was French Stewart, and I was like,
oh my god,
is this French Stewart? But yes, that he calls them steroid freaks at one point. I'm like, oh, that's their theme. Okay, they're strong.
That's their theme. They're strong and a little bit stupid, and they ask for a toll of $50 in order to pass, which obviously Jimmy and Billy, who you find out their nickname is the Ugg twins.
Yeah.
Because ugly, which is pretty good.
Ugly and homely.
I love
it. That was so good.
So they end up getting in this car chase with Boa Bobo, and they do whatever they can to avoid it. They toss a newspaper. It goes into the window, and you get this, what I'm assuming is a producer's note being like, let's inject the look and feel of video games into this, since it's a video game movie. Boa Bobo starts controlling his car with a joystick and like looking at a 3D screen, and it's like, okay, I understand why you're doing this, guys, but clearly a note from a person who doesn't understand what video games are or what fans of a beat 'em up video game want in their movie. But
I laughed so hard when Billy was looking. He takes the newspaper. He's like, perfect, and he like kind of looks outside and he throws it up in the air, and it perfectly lands on just the driver's side window of the car behind him. To the point that if you did that and your friend did that and you're in the car, you'd be like, God, stop wasting your time. Holy shit, it worked. Oh my God. Wow. Great job.
Like the coach who's like, don't shoot a 3, don't shoot a 3. Oh,
yes. No, yes.
But also this newspaper that he gets is full of vomit or something. What was that?
I thought he said grilled cheese.
Oh.
And I was like, well, that's a weird way to grill your cheese with the newspaper.
That kind of makes sense though, because eventually their car breaks down. This is going forward a bit. And Jimmy makes a comment about, well, it's a cheese engine now. So I guess
They
just
threw that.
grilled
They threw
cheese
a bunch
in
of cheese into their.
broke their car.
I don't know how this future technology works. Well, actually, past technology because it was from 14 years ago.
Yes.
But I forgot when we had these things.
Yeah, no iPhones in this movie, eh?
No, yeah, amazing. The graphics was like shit. Yeah. So, and then they eventually get led into an alleyway.
Yes.
Where a Bobo has them now trapped, and he's
Yes.
like, "I'm gonna fuck you guys up."
But then there's an introduction, obviously, to the
Power Core.
I guess it's the Power Core.
Yeah.
It's a group of other gangs that kind of just like the gangs in this movie are so good at introductions.
Oh yeah,
They're so good at getting on scene fast and with a purpose. What they do when they get there is anyone's guess.
Yeah.
The weirdest one for me is Alyssa Milano.
Yes.
Who is
Alyssa Milano.
Alyssa Milano, who's in this movie,
Yes.
it turns out,
Yeah.
is part of the Power Core, and you get like the mimes who are kind of like or like a group that's kind of like jumping off of the
they're like
brick walls
belaying
and
down
they're belaying
ropes.
down.
Yeah.
There's a different way that each of the gangs kind of enter the thing. Alyssa Milano's group were standing against a wall of graffiti with graffiti on their backs.
So their backs, hoodies up, and against the wall.
Like they're filming Gautier's Somebody That I Used to Know music video, and they turn around and it's like, so they just spend their nights standing against the wall.
That's what I was gonna say. And do they have multiple sweaters? Do they leave that sweater there because it's like, or are they there for 8 hours? Like, God, I hope someone fucking pulls up.
Do they have chameleon jackets?
Yeah,
is
like
that what happens?
Yeah, that's the future. Who knows?
It is
or
the future.
past.
This was that was I think my favorite part of this scene. They kind of scare Bobo and his buddy off, is his sidekick off, and it's the introduction to Alyssa Milano as kind of like a love interest.
Yep.
Lots of shots of Alyssa Milano bending over in this movie.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah.
I don't know how old she is in this movie either.
That's true.
Yeah.
That doesn't make me very comfortable.
No, I was thinking about that because like she's still on Who's the Boss in this time where she plays a teenager. Also, did you notice that Lisa Lash says to her, I'm your boss or something like that?
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah.
That's funny. Did you know that her brother in this movie is her brother in real life?
No way.
Yeah.
They don't really show him. Oh, really? The little kid from the family?
The little kid from the
no
family.
way.
The kid who's with the VR headset going, whoa.
Oh, that makes sense. I will also say Scott Wolf and Alyssa Milano dated for years because of this movie afterwards.
I heard about that.
Yes.
Yeah. Good for them.
Didn't work out, but you know.
I wonder why. I don't know why. I don't know what I'm implying.
Actually, I don't know. Yeah, I was going to say, wonder why.
I don't know. It seemed like they were great together. They had some good chemistry.
Yeah.
It also seemed though that she was definitely hitting on Jimmy as well.
Yeah, she was trying to see trying to take her temperature.
It was a
with
coin
her.
flip. It was a coin flip as to who's
the first one to look at me right.
They had real Han Solo, Luke Skywalker vibes, but neither of them were her brother.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Now you get what? Now you get this another scene of the mother character. I can't remember what her name is. Explaining to Billy and Jimmy about the medallion, and it is all that Billy can do to keep a modicum of attention being paid to this story of an ancient magical medallion being brought into his life. He's like, he doesn't care.
No.
I think he's just like eating food and cracking jokes and talking about craft dinner or some bullshit like that.
Yes.
This is if your mom came to you and was like, you're now finally of the age where I have to tell you, our family's magic. And you're just sitting there like throwing things at your brother across the table. Like, you don't deserve that magic power.
No, her name is Satori.
Satori. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Good to know. So this is the scene where you kind of get like a bit more of an exposition dump about what the medallions are, how they are part of the legacy of Jimmy and Billy. All the while, there's like Heinz ketchup on the table. Yep. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're
very casual.
if you're about to like explain to your family how there's mythic properties to you, like find a better setting, clear the table, clean up a little bit.
Why don't we do this after dinner?
Exactly.
You know, like why don't we just wait till your full attention is being paid on the amount of mysticism I'm about to hand out here.
Can you put the ketchup down for a second? I'm trying to tell you about how your father sacrificed himself for a medallion.
Also, the idea is like, you know that thing that's like half of a dinner plate that you wear around your neck?
Yes.
It has meaning. It's like, no way, really? No way.
Like, I just thought it was terribly ugly.
The fact that it is so big,
like
you can never hide it for 1 second.
No.
Oh man, if someone made me wear that my whole life.
If you had a mythical...
Like Sisyphus. Why do I curse to wear this thing?
If you had a mythical medallion that you needed to keep hidden from the world, wouldn't you just hide it? So, like, I wouldn't trust myself to like
a cave, Mikey. They found
that's
that
true.
out pretty fast.
Well, we don't all have cowardly friends that look in the exact direction it's supposed to.
Jesus Christ.
We get a little scene here where Kogashuko brings in Abobo, who now we find out that the gangs are under Kogashuko's control, and Abobo tells them that they saw the medallion and this is where it is. This is the other half. This is very conveniently like a day after Kogashuko ransacks this ancient village in Japan, and it's like, if only I had that. What's that, Abobo? You found the other half of the medallion? Fantastic.
Where are we gonna? You found it? Do you have it? You don't have it. I'm furious. He's so mad immediately. And Abobo's like, what's the big deal? I'm going to find these guys and I'm going to take it from them. Speaking the only sense that he's spoken in the whole movie, where he's like, I don't see what the big deal is. They're a couple dweebs. I know where they live.
I can bench press 800 pounds.
Yes.
We're good.
Homely and ugly. He looks it up and they're like, they live in the DeVille Theater.
Yeah.
Like, and it says, he's like, okay, I'll just go down there. I'll rip them in two and I'll take that fucking thing. And that is not good for Kogashuko. Like, he was like, no.
And it's so much so that he looks at Lisa Lash and he's just like, it's time to punish this guy. And she like throws the whip around his neck, and in spite of the fact that he's being that Boa Bobo is being like read the filth, and he's about to get punished, for a split second he truly believes he's about to get fucked by Lisa Lash.
Yes,
he has that very 90s thing of like, oh, what is this, my prize now? And it's like, no, you're about to get thrown into a chair and pumped full of steroids.
He is so unaware of what is happening in front of him, where he's like, why are you guys mad? And they're furious.
They're furious.
Mostly probably jet lag.
I think it's probably it.
They just came back from Japan.
Probably rode horses, even though they have the technology to take airplanes. They just decided against it.
There's bow and arrows. That's probably why I thought that. Yeah.
They bring Boa Bobo down to the basement where there's like some experiments being done, and Boa Bobo is told they're gonna pump him full of steroids, and they're like, this is going to be your punishment. He's like, I don't want it. Whatever. A cover is lifted off of what looks like a dentist chair.
Yes.
And the sight of this chair makes Boa Bobo scream.
Yes.
But you already knew what the punishment was.
They told you what they're going to do. And he's like, no.
He's like, I don't believe it.
Yeah, I don't think so. And he's like, a chair? A chair? It's just, they have all the equipment necessary. Oh no.
It makes zero sense.
Oh, I love it.
So we now follow Alyssa Milano's character. She's at home. She's wearing a wig. This wig is apparently a nod to her character's sprite in the original Double Dragon game,
because they would switch depending on what screen you're using. It was like a glitch. And so she has this short bleach blonde haircut, and she wears a wig in front of her dad to not show that she's part of the Power Corps.
Yes.
Because it's revealed her father is the chief of police.
Of course he is. Of course he is. We've got also some more news reports in this, and there's it's her dad kind of like making the fake news claim as well, like very early on.
100%.
There's reports on Channel 69 News, by the way, which is
nice,
very nice.
I know.
Of Madonna and Tom Arnold.
I laughed so hard that they're like, which easy shot can we take? Tom Arnold, perfect. Madonna.
This is like, in my mind, I'm like, this is the interdimensional cable like that we get from Rick and Morty, but just in Double Dragon form. I'm like, just have the camera on the news the whole time. It's fantastic.
1994, I just love the analysis of going like, who's someone really hot?
Yes.
Like Madonna. And they're like, what would be funny if, what ugly celebrity do we know?
Tom Arnold. The Arn Man himself. Okay, yeah. So before we move on from this scene, just I want to, because it does tie into a weird kind of theory that you can have on the ending of this, or a read on the story that you can have at the end. But this police captain talking about fake news, and like you kind of understand why he believes this, is something I want to tie in at the end of the movie with you know, a potential read on this movie that gives it a weird slant that I wouldn't have expected from a Double Dragon children's movie, but we'll see. In the next scene, you get Koga, who it's revealed, who shows up to Jimmy and Billy's place. You get another exposition dump where his name is Geisman. Yeah. So it's not actually Kogashuko. That's just kind of a name that he took, shot in the dark. I don't know. Maybe he's appropriate in culture. Maybe he's not.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Wouldn't shock me, but yes.
You tell me.
Yeah.
When he shows up at Jimmy and Billy's, he's got a few henchmen with him, two henchmen and Lisa Lash, and they have a synchronized, like, take their sunglasses off at the same time moment.
I have this written down as well.
It's so funny.
I said, do you think they practiced taking their sunglasses off at the same time?
It's so good.
He's like, hello, boys, and all four of them bang at the same time. And you're like, wow.
Those are the moments in this movie where I'm like, they could have done this. Like, they could have done it. They could have
They're dancing around something here.
There are elements of a very good movie in here somewhere, and there are some genuinely funny moments as well. So here he obviously says he's come to take over the medallion, and you get the chase starting. This is where I think the movie kind of falls off a bit, because when you get these action sequences, you already mentioned it.
Yeah.
There's a ton of them. The fight sequences are plenty. Did you like them?
No.
They were bad.
Man, the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, people loved martial arts. Like, God,
Yes.
they were just obsessed with martial arts. And you just watch extended periods of martial arts and you're like, yeah, that's good. Oh, that's good. Yeah, they kick somebody again. All right.
But like casting, you would think of all the people you could have cast for the main characters, most of them should have had some sort of martial arts training.
Well, one of them does.
One of them does.
Yeah, one of them does a ton of it.
You're talking about Jimmy, who does most of the carrying. That's Mark DeCascos.
DeCascos?
Yeah,
something like that. Who is now the chairman on Iron Chef. Has been for like 10 years.
Is that who that is?
Yeah. Just has a shaved head now, like me. So
that's amazing. I
it's
like
a little
that.
hard to spot him.
He looks great.
Yeah.
So here are the stunts that you get right as this action kicks off. Stunt number 1. Billy jumps over a goddamn couch.
Oh, Jesus.
Stunt number 2.
Yeah.
Henchman slides under a theater curtain.
Whoa.
Stunt number 3.
Yeah.
They climb a cargo ladder.
Oh, yeah. But they make a real big point of that, too, because they clearly they use the actors.
Yes.
And I don't know what the plan was. They kind of get halfway up and they go, now what? And you're like, whoa, okay.
Where are you running to?
Where are you
it's
going?
a theater. Go outside.
It's your home. You know this better than anybody.
This is another moment where I'm just like, thank God for Koga's sake, the actual black belts didn't have the medallion, because the fights are pretty close.
Yeah.
And I feel like if the black belts were there, it would have been like, they would have just like chopped Koga in the throat. And that would have been the end of this whole movie. This is also a big separation between the talent levels in fighting abilities of Jimmy and Billy. And I think it's primarily because the actors have
there's a big distinction,
disparity in terms of their actual skills. Billy is home aloneing his pursuers with basketballs,
gumballs. Okay, yes, he is above their basketball net, which awesome. First of all, that's so cool.
Yeah,
and he throws basketballs on them, and the person is acting like they're cannonballs. Like he's just like, oh, holy ow!
But then one of them is a bowling ball.
Was that it?
That was it.
I thought it was volleyball. And I was like, this makes no sense.
That would have made no sense, but because they have a sound effect of it being like almost like pins. No, like like he bowled a strike at his head.
Oh, that's funny.
It's just the bones rattling around.
Okay, I like that. That's really good. And he breaks open a gumball machine.
Yes.
So the guy will slide all around in a hilarious manner.
Which is great.
Yeah, love it.
Meanwhile, Jimmy is like using a bow staff and showing off his skills, and that was I'm like, show me more of that.
Yes.
Than the gumballs. Their mom gets trapped, or not their mom. Satori gets trapped in this kind of cage thing, and they sort of just like, or no, actually. This is before that. They just leave her though.
Yeah, they're like, well, she's in a cage.
She's in the. We got to get the fuck out of here.
So in our house, there is a gate that closes a thing, and they're like, whoop, can't open it. See you later.
Yeah, we'll come back.
We love
later.
you.
We'll come back later. The person who just saved their lives and
Yes.
told them about this mystical thing, whatever. In order to get to her, this is the reveal that with the half of the medallion that he currently has, Kogashuka can turn into a shadow.
Yes. Now we find out, because they make it very clear in the 12 or 13 times that they tell you, one is for the body and one is for the soul.
Yeah.
And we find out, whatever. We'll talk about that later. But like, we find out that must be the soul one, because he can turn into a shadow.
Yes.
And wreak havoc.
And he can possess people's bodies.
That's true. You're right.
Here's my hot take on this movie, Andrew.
Yeah.
What if Kogashugo was just content with that? I think he could have taken over the goddamn. He was really good with that one half of the medallion.
Yeah.
So much so, like, we'll get to it. When he gets the second half of the medallion, he kind of sucks.
Yeah, he's not as good.
He loses to two people without medallion. Yeah. What was his plan to take over the world? Split into two ninjas and just be like, I don't know, know how to work Excel? Like, they're ancient ninjas.
Like, take over the president's body. Like, make a decision. You know what I mean? Like, that's all you gotta do.
The second half.
No.
Let Jimmy and Billy do their own thing.
They are also unaware there is a second half, which blows my mind, because if you look at it constantly, it's broken in half.
100%.
It's like a jagged edge to it. And they're like, there's another half of this? You're like, the fuck is this?
Now we enter Boa Bobo V 2.0. He's steroided up. And you get that typical moment from the 90s that I think we should bring back, the delayed double scream, where they look at Bo, Jimmy and Billy look at themselves, look at Bo, look at themselves, and then go, and run in the other way. That was always great.
Yeah, it's like Kevin McAllister putting on aftershave.
With in the mirror, although the mirror is his brother. They're screaming at themselves. It's great. This is a weird power disparity, and I think a character that didn't need to be in the movie from the point that he exits the first scene in Boa Bobo. They're hucking bricks at this guy. They're doing everything they can to take him down.
Yeah.
Nothing works except Satori swings a heavy bag at him, and it fucks his shit
A
right
brick
up.
straight to the skull.
Nothing.
Doesn't blink.
Nothing.
Heavy bag. Oh my God.
Swinging into his back.
Maybe he's allergic to sand or something.
It's got to be that.
Yeah.
It's got to be that. His constant presence in this movie makes no sense to me.
No, it is a Bane, like Blanca from the Street Fighter movies type character of like a sad giant that doesn't want to be living like this anymore.
Yeah.
Because near the end of this fight, he sees himself in the mirror and he is horrified.
Yeah, that's later when he's being held hostage by the power core. Yeah. So a lot of shit goes down. Kogashuko, the name that I thought I would get wrong a ton in this,
done
and
really
I just
well.
keep on getting
No,
it.
you do.
now I'm going to get it wrong the next time I say
100%.
it. We find out that he can take over souls or take over bodies because he comes to Jimmy and Billy as Satori and tries to get the medallion. They realize it's not him. And as recompense, he just lights the whole fucking place on fire, killing Satori.
Killing Satori. It blows up. The theater blows up.
So that's the thing. There's at least one dead person in this movie.
You're right. And I thought for the whole time, well, Satori will come back and everything. Nope. She's dead.
She's dead.
She's so dead. It's crazy. So much so, Billy, very upset about it, goes to the water, opens a lunchbox full of photos of Satori in them, is very sad. Is very sad.
Yeah.
And this is also why I thought they were lovers. Because I was like, they're like holding up photos. It's like,
Still at this point?
yeah, kind of. I don't know.
Okay.
I was like, he's like, Satori. Like, this happened 10 minutes ago, right?
Yes.
Billy comes up and goes, get over it. Just throws it into the ocean.
That was the
What?
that was the most cold-hearted thing I've ever seen anyone do. He, like, a lunchbox full of memories of your dead mentor and your brother, the last family you have in this world, hucks it into a polluted river.
Yes, and he goes, get over it. like it's been months, but it's been minutes.
But the way they film it, it's like you're supposed to be on Jimmy's side for that.
Like
where
Billy.
It's like, Billy, you got to get over it. They show the lunchbox going down, and it's like, finally, he's over it.
Yeah.
Like, what?
And they do like one little look where he looked at him like, what's wrong with you? And Jimmy goes, like, sorry. Kind of thing. And you're like, oh, like, yeah, totally fine now.
Yeah.
Time to move on.
They fight for literally 25 seconds,
Yes.
and then they're best friends again.
It blew my mind.
They don't make up and then walk away, and then Billy's like, that was pretty fucked up what you did with my memory stuff.
Like, I couldn't have saved one photo of that person I cared quite a bit about. She's like, her body's still warm right now. Like,
still, yeah, well, it's, of course, it was an explosion, Andrew. It's still molten hot.
And crispy, yeah.
Yeah, it's very crispy. This is where you get the scene with Alyssa Milano's brother, Corey Milano, doing his VR. Whoa.
Pretty much nailed that one, though. That's what we do at home.
All the time.
In
2007, we all had our own VR headsets. If I put on a VR headset and played that game, the roller coaster game, I would vomit.
Yeah,
I would immediately vomit.
Yeah.
I've told the story on the podcast before, but I played the Resident Evil 4 VR with my Oculus, and I as soon as I started moving, I fell down. I physically fell down, and I was sick for about 3 days.
We talked about this in a recent episode, people with vertigo, but that's essentially what you had. You're just like, just like,
as soon as I started moving, I like just angled off into the wall. Okay, I just want to say this because I already mentioned Kogashuko. Like, maybe cut your losses. You botched this attempt. You can turn into a fucking ghost.
Yep.
Go take over the world some other way.
Yeah.
He goes into a meeting of the gangs to kind of like take over and kills a much less version of Cyrus from the Warriors, pretty much, who's just like this the hills have eyes looking motherfucker.
I think he's that guy. Yes.
I think he is that guy.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm thinking, like, if you own the gangs and you can turn into a ghost and you can possess people's bodies, if you can't take over the world with that, that's on you.
This is essentially a story of greed. He could have just.
I like that, Andrew. That's a good read.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's the other is that if he had just let Billy and Jimmy go for a bit,
he would have owned the world.
A week. Just like let them cool off.
Yeah.
Let them forget that I even exist. And then just like when they're sleeping, I can just go take it. It's the fact that they keep ramping it up and they're going like, so this like really means something, doesn't it? You're like, you fucking idiots. He would have kept it in a dresser drawer. Like you would have had such an easy path. You could turn it into a fucking shadow.
Wait until they have another karate competition against two black belts.
Or go for a shower or something. Like honest to God.
Do you think he like turns into a shade and he's like going over to get the medallion? He like stops by the shower. He's like, Billy.
The shadow like does like a whoo. Woohoo! Yeah, like a little. Look at this guy.
This is where we find out after Kogashuko takes over the gangs that all the gangs are after Jimmy and Billy.
Yes.
They can identify them. You know this because Jimmy and Billy walk through like an abandoned something, and all the gangs look at them and start banging on things. Whatever they got near them, they're banging on something.
Yeah, they're banging on like the rails and stuff like that.
Yeah. My biggest takeaway from this scene when they find out that all the gangs are against them, there's a gang of mimes, which we've already talked about with Mickey Mouse clubs, and a gang of people who swing bags. Did you see all the bag swingers?
Yeah, I don't know what that was. Okay, so this might be a good time to talk about the insane amount of background actors they use in this.
Oh my God, yeah.
I can't believe how many people were on set at one time. But the problem was a lot of them aren't good. And so if once you get one deep past that first one, you're like, what is that? Do they know what they're doing? Because I thought about the person bag swinging that is in the back, not in focus. You know which one I'm talking about?
It's all I remember of the scene.
Because like one guy's like cracking his knuckles, like holding up, and one guy in the back's like, whoa, like this, like up and down, like clearly looking around to look at some assistant director going like, am I doing this right? Is this what you want?
Good?
Is this what you want?
This is what the bag's
and
for,
so
right?
This guy with a headband just like, giving every fucking inch of his life of Juilliard trained acting.
Yes, yeah.
And this other person's like, whoa, a bag. Oh, a bag. I could not, I just, because immediately you're not staring at the front guy, you're staring at the back guy. Like, what's that guy up to?
No, 100%. You've got a gang of hippies, you've got a gang of AC/DC looking school children, you got a gang of mailmen, and they all chase. And this is like, again, clearly the Warriors inspiration.
Yes.
The baseball furies and the whatever the fuck, the holy rollers or whatever they're called. Now we're back to this chase scene. They got to fight their way through this. They end up pinning themselves into a shack with absolutely nothing in it except the coolest fucking motorcycle you've ever seen in your goddamn life.
This is a funny joke though. This whole thing where they're in the shack.
Oh yeah.
And so, this also grossed me out. So they're surrounded by 80 gang members outside, and the annoying Abobo's friend, annoying guy, is there. And he goes, I can see you. And he's looking through a little peephole, like a little eye thing. And Jimmy goes, I can see you too. And just takes the end of a broom and blinds this man.
No, actually blinds him.
He does,
because in the next scene, he's got
an eye patch.
An eye patch.
But he just takes this perfectly cylindrical thing and just shoves it right there. And the guy like acts like it went through his skull, which it might
probably
have.
felt like it did.
I was like, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
So, but Billy, Jimmy's holding them off by blinding them.
Yeah.
And Billy's like, don't worry, I know how to ride a motorcycle. He hits the ignition and the whole thing falls apart.
Yes.
I laughed.
That was
really
very
hard
funny.
at
That was very, again, someone on this writing staff had a decent sense of comedy and timing.
Yes.
And then they look under some sort of blanket and there's a boat, thank God, which also didn't make sense to me because there was no water in this shack that they were in. And then the next scene, they're just driving a boat away in the water.
It blew my mind that you're like, well, let's use this motorcycle. What good would this motorcycle be? You're at a river.
A good point.
Like it's just like, and then you're like, the boat just kicks out and you're like, oh, they're on water?
Yeah.
They didn't even show that at all. So this comes up to one of my other things that I really love. They shot this in Ohio.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Shot just outside of Cleveland. This is the Cuyahoga River, which runs through Cleveland. If someone's from Ohio, please tell me how wrong I am. One of my favorite things about the Cuyahoga River is that it has been lit on fire multiple times. The river catches fire. Like, if you didn't have a hard enough time, Cleveland, I love you. I love we had great times in Cleveland.
Yeah.
I love that city. But if you ever had a down day, let's say, and go like, why do I live in this shithole town? Oh, everything sucks. And then you turn around and your river is on fire. You'd be like, well, what the hell's this? It can't get worse than this. Our water's on fire.
Just turn around, go back to Mahal's, the bowling alley.
Yeah.
There's a nice reference for anyone who's in Cleveland.
Yeah.
This whole scene though was strange because it's obviously supposed to be not even the LA River. It's just like the streets of LA during flooding time, which is again a really cool. They drive their boats past Man's Chinese Theater, which is really neat.
I really love the way they use Los Angeles. Yes, really cool.
They have billboards for like Dive, the Chinese theater, and when I saw that, I was like, what are they talking about? And then it's flooded, so it's like, oh, of course that would become a tourist attraction. That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
So chase scenes are great. What I don't understand is a lot of this chase scene is taking place in like a wide open canal, and Billy and Jimmy keep going, whoa. What is in front of them at that? Everyone is behind them, and they keep going like, look out.
Yeah.
For what?
And like vibrating.
Yes,
you know what
for
I mean?
what?
They have already seen a mutant has tried to attack them. Like, I don't know what more can happen with like, just some more gang members trying to kill us. Like, Okay, well, that's par for the course, man.
This chase scene lasted way too long, was very hard to follow. Why are islands blowing up? And they nothing can stop these guys. Explosions, rivers on fire. Until they drive through a sign that they don't see and their whole boat explodes.
Yes.
But they're good.
They're great.
They don't die.
You could tell this was the most expensive part of the movie.
Easily.
And so that's why it goes on forever.
Yeah. But it's a weird, almost anticlimax to the scene. They don't die. They're shown just like swimming around later with one of the most awkward exposition dumps that they clearly only did in one take.
Yes.
Where they're like, make sure to say this, that, put the medallion on so they know it's there, high five, swim away. And it's the pauses are weird. There are no cuts. It's like they had one canister of film left and they had to get it.
So they also have a stunt person who's a Sea-Doo stunt person who's riding around in a black mask, right? And they give him a line, which is the craziest thing in the world. And then he like watches the boat explode and he's like, they're dead for sure. All right, moving on. Yeah. And they're like, oh, good. We got to do a search and rescue for this necklace that must have sunken to the bottom of the water.
And they're assuming that Jimmy and Billy are dead. So that buys them some time to kind of figure out what's going on. We get another news update from Channel 69 at this point. This is where the weird right-wing agenda kind of like keeps popping up. Where you get someone in the like there's like a jury or like a law place or something and the police is giving some sort of update on everything and then the journalists are like, aren't the gang members just misunderstood? And the police says like, haven't you guys been working for 2 hours? And they're like, oh yeah, it's break time, we gotta go from here. It's like
just the most shameless journalists are cowards.
Yes.
Like kind of like they ask what I think are fairly relatively good questions about like, you sure we should just like crack skulls and like it doesn't seem to be working? Your truce. This is also where they start mentioning the truce with the gangs.
Yes.
And you're like in a big way that they have developed a truce of night and day. We get one, you get the other.
Honestly, a cool idea.
Actually, kind of a cool idea. Really, also a lot of diplomacy on both sides gets credited. Should get credited for this
100%
incredibly difficult thing they must have figured out together. Okay, so, but what? No, he doesn't say a break. He goes, curfew's on in 15 minutes. And they all go like, oh, okay, well, time to go. I don't want to die. You know what I mean?
Funny.
And so they're showing, they're like, weren't you just defending the gangs and now you're terrified of the gangs?
Yes. Yeah. This is where this kind of like this is very much a police movie. A lot of movies in the 90s were, but this is very much that.
This is also, we'll get to it in a second, but yes, it's such a police movie that this might be the only time I've ever heard the line, listen, it's sirens. And it meant to be a very positive message. Yes. They're like, thank God the sirens are here.
The way we'll get to this in the final scene or one of the final scenes, the way the cops are treated after being incredibly cowardly is like raised on a pedestal. It's a really, a lot of the time I couldn't understand what they were trying to say, but ultimately I think it leans very much on the side of like, the cops are good.
Cops are good. Don't worry about them. They're doing the right thing. Yeah.
Yes. We move past a couple scenes of exposition. We get one of the coolest lines that we have in the movie is Koga saying, all I want is total domination over one major American city. Is that so much to ask?
Once again, Robert Patrick is eating this whole time.
He is the, like you said, the best part of this movie.
He is the best part of this movie. He's got deep eyeliner, a hilarious goatee and hairstyle, and he's perfect.
And he's ashing his cigarette on everyone and everything, which is amazing.
Loved it
or
so much.
Or cigarillo, whatever it is.
Yeah, he had the little cigarette holder.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So we get this weird scene where Boa Bobo, I don't even remember how it happened, but he was caught by the power core. Do you remember how Boa Bobo was caught by the power core?
No,
I don't either, but he's being held captive by them and they're like force feeding him spinach,
which is where it goes back to what I was talking about. This feels like a movie written by children.
Yes.
But like, what's the worst thing you could get tortured with?
Yes.
Not like car batteries to testicles or something like that. No, he's getting force-fed spinach and he's like, no, I don't want that. Which, once again, a very tragic character. Just so sad.
Why do they keep him around?
Yeah.
Because this is not the last we see of Boa Bobo in a very inconsequential way. Like, he's not having an effect on the story at this point.
No.
Is it comedic relief, maybe?
Which,
they spent too much money on his makeup.
Right. That might be it. Which, if it's comedic relief, no thank you. Because it made me sad every time.
Yes.
And also, like, we just saw him be like a rhinoceros inside, and yet he's being held by like a rope, and he's like, oh, yeah, I can't get out.
That's another weird thing about 90s movies where they set up these like barriers and then just have main characters break the barriers at will. Like Boba Boba was tied up the whole time. The way he gets loose is by just breaking out of the barrier because he decides to. Like, it's just such a strange thing that you always see in these. So Jimmy and Billy show up at the power core to ask for help. In this this is another way, like when they establish the power core as this kind of like underground society that's keeping the electricity going, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, because they drop really lazy exposition here with Bobo going like, oh, the generator's out again.
Yes. Yeah.
That comes back later.
But
I'm so excited by it.
100%. But the thing is this type of world building, like there's so much of it that this is another hint that like clearly the script existed before. And they're like, well, how do we fit in the power core or something like that as sort of like a neutral party relative to the gangs and the cops. They're just kind of doing their thing and operating in the shadows.
So power core, this is the other one of these background actors that just didn't really work out. Power core are exclusively cast by children, it looks like.
That's the weird thing about
children
this.
under 8, like very small children, right? And so when you're 7 or 8, you've done years of karate, you can do the part, and like a bunch of them are like this. There is like a 3-year-old that is in front and center and is like has their hands up like this and is looking around at other ones going like, am I doing it the right way?
So out of place.
And he's just like clearly in his, you could see him thinking going like, what am I? Yeah. Okay. Do I do it like
Can
this?
I get some direction,
and he
please?
is front and center in the camera.
The weirdest thing, like when you mentioned the background actors, this was the scene I thought about because one of them is a stone cold fucking killer.
Yeah.
Like one of these actors, like one of the children, the 8-year-olds, has a stance and a look in his eyes like he's been there before in real life.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's the second to the end.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And the other kid is just too intimidated. Maybe he's lost too many karate competitions to this fucking guy over here. It's like he's 8 years old.
It scared the hell out of me.
That kid grew up to be Yoel Romero.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
exactly.
UFC veteran.
Great veteran. I love you, Michael. It's one of my favorite interviews. Every time I think I'm getting sick of this movie at this point, they show something like a guy in a suit wearing or going to an oxygen bar that looks like a payphone and like putting money in and getting like a good hit of oxygen. Like, that type
loved
of shit.
that.
Isn't that fucking cool?
I loved it, and I loved it because it's immediately also this is like Los Angeles. In what world? Is this so New York? It's crazy because immediately a guy just takes an oxygen hit and the guy goes, "Hey, can you hurry the fuck up?"
Yeah.
Like a guy behind him was like, "Hey, dude," and he's like, "I'm working here, okay?" Like, and he's like, "Can you please hurry the fuck up?" I laughed so hard at the idea that nobody could just enjoy that themselves.
Yeah.
Immediately, somebody else needs to be antagonistic.
Hey, I'm breathing here.
Yeah, I love that they converted old telephones to auction.
That's really
bars.
funny. I
think
like
that's
that
great.
a lot. So this whole plan to go get the power core was to ask them for help somehow. I don't know why, but
Don't know either.
I think it's because Alyssa Milano's character is just really good at what she does, and she kind of controls the underground, and she decides on a plan, which is to cause a distraction. And what we find out is Kogashuka's lair, which is like part of a shopping mall or something like that.
This is still part of this. Yeah.
And they just go do the most rascal thing that these writers could think of, which is skateboard in the mall.
Skateboard in the mall. This is like the most Reagan America thing of all time. I know it's 1994, so it's like a couple years after, but because it's Bush and then Clinton, but is that people could not fathom the idea that I'm like business, and somebody is freely having fun in skateboarding, and they're like, no,
you can't do that in here.
That's the opposite of what my life is. And you're like, oh man,
I thought we were gonna get this whole scene where it's like they chase around the kids and everything. No, they just Alyssa Milano's character and Jimmy and Billy go to like a side ventilation shaft and then crawl over Kogashuko's office. Like, I feel like they could have done that without the distraction.
Well, no, it's because the security guard guard has never seen any fit of joy like this in his life. And he's like, I need backup. I guess to beat the shit out of a bunch of children.
I want to see that scene.
Skateboard.
I want to see
them
that
just in
scene.
the back wailing on an 8-year-old.
Skateboarding is a crime, they say.
yeah, you look so cool.
Yeah.
And so because of that, nobody was watching the video cameras that allows them to escape into the vents.
Yeah.
They are now in the top of the vents, which are hilariously 4 feet tall. And so they're able to kind of stand.
Like fully, they can do jumping jacks in there if they wanted. Like
they could have lived, it would have been a sweet apartment for somebody.
That's honestly, clearly no one's checking the ventilation shafts.
No. So they go there and in that scene, the chief of police is down there getting bribed by Kogashuko.
Right.
And they see the double dragon thing just sitting on the desk.
Yeah. Like Jimmy and Billy would do if they went to go take a shower.
Yeah, they're collective team showers where they're high-fiving the whole time.
Yeah. But you know what? It's such a shame because like they can see the double dragon thing down on the desk. If only they had like something where they can like reach down and grab it. I don't know.
Well, okay. I think maybe if they had maybe the world's smallest razor blade and magnet.
Okay,
maybe a little bit of fishing wire.
Okay, see the fishing wire, but like clearly no one keeps fishing wire bundled up in their pockets,
right?
right?
Oh, Mikey, not in New Angeles. That's like very valuable. That's like $5.
I guess when the river is everywhere and you're hungry.
Fishing. Teach a man to fish, live in New Angeles.
Yeah. So they fashion this weird fishing thing.
Yes.
To try to get the double dragon. Could you imagine if the movie ended here?
And he just got it, and they're like, double dragon! Just like, they put it together and beheaded Kokushuko.
They put it together, the power's too much, it explodes the entire building. You're
Our
like,
dad was right. Too powerful.
here's the weirdest thing about this that they don't talk about. As soon as they enter this ventilation shaft, Alyssa Milano's character tells them why they're there. They're going to go to the mainframe, which is a word that's way too freely used in these sorts of movies. And as she says, download the data to show that one gang has been paid and kind of shown like preference to, so it starts gang warfare. They weren't there to take the double dragon off the desk.
No.
They just so happened
saw it
on a diversion to see it sitting on the desk.
there.
And their whole plan got thrown to shit.
Can you imagine if they were successful and they go back to these empty warehouse full of baseball mimes and they go like, look, bank statements. And people would be like, huh? What? And they, riot. Like that would have been like the movie. Like that was their play. Like, look, like
the Mohawks are getting more money than you.
Yeah. What the fuck? So Kokushuko's trying to bribe the chief of police, which is also Alyssa Milano's dad. And we went up for the police. He's like, no money. Get your money out of here.
I was going to say, could you imagine how tragic it would be if he accepted the bribe from Kokushuko? What is he bribing him for? To just let the gangs...
I think to break the truce and just allow them to do whatever they want.
Okay.
I don't know how that benefits him in the long run. Like, whatever.
Maybe gives them more time to chase down the Billy and Jimmy.
Well, I guess it would be like, hey, do you guys want to help me with this Billy pursuit as well? Like, here's money. You know? That would make more sense.
That would make a lot more sense.
The funniest, this was very funny. So the little magnet's going down, coming back up, going down.
Yes.
The only person that realizes is Lisa Lash.
That was
because it's
fantastic.
happening in front of her.
Yes.
And so she doesn't freak out. She just kind of watches it happen a couple of times, and she's like,
kind of smirking.
Yeah, she's like, I can't wait to take this old feudal Japanese tool and impale these children.
He just pulls out a halberd and starts stabbing the ventilation shaft. If you're Kokushuko and the police chief, you're like, what the fuck is this psycho doing?
Yeah.
Why is she stabbing my ventilation shaft? And then all of a sudden, Jimmy, Billy, and to the police chief's dismay,
his
daughter falls.
In a horrible haircut. He's like, what is this all about?
Doesn't mention the haircut at all.
No.
Which is like, were you up there fucking these two strangers? What were you doing in the ventilation
This is straight out of Die Hard, by the way, too. This is straight out of Die Hard. And you're like, okay. So, then
Kokushuko is like, well, you've brought the medallion to me because they not disgrace.
No, this is great.
Oh, this is great.
And he probably looks at the police officer like, no deal, get the money back. Like, he came to me. This is great.
And he says, he's like, you want the medallion? Come get it. And legitimately matador bullfighters them down an elevator shaft. He's like, come get it. And they jump at it and fall down an elevator shaft. Jimmy and Billy do. Bizarre.
So strange.
A strange way to end this fight.
I can't believe there's more. I am losing my mind. This is the longest 90-minute movie of all time.
There's so much that happens, and what we get after the elevator scene is this police chief who is defending himself from Lisa Lash, who has all her weapons, and he takes the halberd, this ancient Japanese weapon. And this is where I need to put a plea out there. Because this is, you and I are talking in 2024.
Yep.
It is still amid the hot button debate of, do you defund the police?
Yeah, right.
The counter to that is, do you pay the police more for better training?
Okay.
And I think there's a legitimate argument, because if you give them more weapons training and they do know how to use halberds, the movie ends here.
Yeah, we only give them, a few $1 billion a year, right?
Yes.
And so if we'd only given them a few more, the next tool that they would have learned
would have been a halberd, probably.
Yeah.
And this would have ended right now.
Yeah, it would have been so easy. Lisa Lash dead.
Dead, which is good. That's what you want the police to be doing.
100%. They should be killing everybody on sight.
Yes.
You know the funny part?
Especially if they have a whip.
Yeah. So he's like, oh shit, a whip.
Yes.
I need to use this hilariously large sword.
Yes.
Not the gun that's on me.
Well, that seems unfair. She is a woman, after all.
It would have
honor
been
among police.
It would have been literally this scene from Indiana Jones.
Yes.
She would have had a whip and moving a sword around, and he just puts it one right between her eyes.
Exactly. So that's kind of the
Listen
end.
to us. Yeah! Fuck yeah! Get him!
Shoot that bitch in the head. Like,
Police!
Fund the police. Shoot bitches with whips. You're like, what? That's unfortunately going to be the clip that goes at the end of this episode.
Oh yeah, 100% it is.
The fight between the police sergeant and Lisa Lash ends when he pushes like a statue onto her.
Yeah.
It's really strange.
Yeah.
In the basement, we get this weird fight where Kokushuko, we find out he has this kind of laboratory with bunch of like modified bodies in stasis.
Yes, the versions, the versions before a Bobo.
Yeah, true.
That's
but
what
like
I assume.
Dead people that he's
people.
experimented on, but they're almost avatars that he can take over to be like a very giant menacing person, or like a cyborg
almost all metal person.
Yeah.
Yes.
I liked that as an idea.
I loved it. It was kind of scary. It kind of worked. I loved when he inhabited the basketball player.
That was great.
Tower. Is that why do you say that?
Well, the back of his
said tower. He was like 7 feet tall, and he just goes like, "Good to see you guys again."
See,
I loved it.
This confused me because this actually, like his ploy of going into different people like he did with Satori, this one worked on me because I was like, how do they know Tower?
Yes.
I didn't know that was
you didn't
Robert
know
Patrick
speaking as a shadow.
Yes, I didn't know that. And then I finally picked up on it. The idea of having a bunch of corpses that you can animate, I think that's really cool. Eventually, Jimmy gets squeezed pretty much to death as Billy gets separated from him.
Once again, Billy not putting up a huge fight as they get separated, going like, "Oh no!"
Well,
okay,
he
time to go.
Can't do much apart from like, look over there and then run over. That's what he's good at.
It would have been so funny too if Alyssa Milano was like, "You need to get over it. He's dead."
Yes, she pretty much did. She's like, "We have to go. We got to get out of here.
We got time short here."
Yeah. We go back to the power core and the gangs attack again. I mean, this is just they're putting themselves in these situations.
More belaying, more coming down walls.
People getting thrown in this green water.
Yes, no one's talked about that, but we just. No, it's bad. Or he comes out as a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, is this green water good or is it bad? It looks delicious.
It does look delicious.
It looks like green Gatorade or something like that.
It does look like that. Or what was that Nickelodeon thing?
Oh, the goop,
slime.
Yeah.
The slime.
It
looks like slime.
But is it radioactive?
I don't know. But no one seemed to enjoy getting thrown in because they were screaming.
That's true. And those children who are working around it. Someone's got to send them to a doctor. Get them out of there.
That children with 3 arms is probably not healthy.
No, send them to the cobalt mine so they can recover for a little bit. Like, Lash is, I gotta say, for a character, she enters the scene as well. Yes. For a character who her thing is having a whip, she sucks at the whip.
Yeah.
She I think pretty much loses it because she wraps it around a pole and looks at it like, why isn't this thing coming back to me? What? And she sits there yanking on it for a solid 30 seconds while Alyssa Milano, whose character name I should know, but I don't. I don't want to commit that to memory because I'm going to lose something important if I do.
I'm just going to go with like Jennifer or something.
Jennifer. Yeah, no, it is another character from the game. I think it's like Miranda.
Her name's Marion.
Marion
Delario.
Cuts the whip in half and there goes Lash's whip.
Yeah, it's like if your superpowers was boomerang.
Yes.
And you threw it and you went, oh God, it's coming back. Oh shit. Oh God.
I thought that was just in the cartoons.
Holy, what am I supposed to do with this now?
Yeah. Oh my God. You mean the Australians actually use these things? This is where in the middle of the fight scene, you get Boa Bobo seeing his face in the reflection and crying.
Yes. So sad.
Again, though, why do we have this? And then he just decides to break out of his prison because you can do that when you're sad.
So now that we're like racing towards the end here.
Yeah.
Oh, Bobo. He's like very mad at Robert Patrick. And he's like, he's turning me into a monster.
Yes.
I am going to seek vengeance against him.
Sure.
And you're like, great. You're a big steroided up human, just large muscle. You're just one large muscle. I'm sure you'll be a great asset in the fight. No. His superpower is intel.
It's intel.
Yeah.
He's like, turn the lights on.
They're not good when you turn the lights on.
Which, how does he know?
I don't, that part has not been established, but now the generator thing makes sense.
Yes. So so let's get there quickly. We'll move there pretty quick because we're
close to how long the movie is.
It's honestly, if you turn this podcast on at the same time as the movie, we're probably talking about the exact moment that you're watching right now. This is where Jimmy comes back, except it's not Jimmy. It is Kogashuko.
Wow, nice.
Oof, I almost missed it that time. Did you see my eyes roll back?
Yeah. You look so worried.
Did you catch the little Easter egg when they're fighting through the arcade here?
Yes.
Yeah.
That you see multiple arcades that you recognize, including Double Dragon.
Yeah. And it, if anything, just really reminds you how little this movie has to do with the game.
You almost expected like Scott Wolf to turn and go like, that looks like a pretty good game, and they get punched or something
or like, I look nothing like that or something.
Yeah,
weird like that.
Yeah.
Like it's a blonde dude with a mustache and he's like,
Yeah.
So they fight through the arcade.
Yeah.
Billy is holding his own against Jimmy,
which makes no sense.
But except that it's controlled by Kogashuko, so it kind of does, and that's Jimmy's excuse when he finally comes to. Weirdly, Billy is doing well in this fight. And he gets to a point where he looks at the medallion and he's like, fuck this shit.
Yeah, I don't even need this.
I don't need this. Or he's mad at it for some reason and throws it away. And that's when it comes to life.
Yes.
And gives him the power of body.
It gives him the power of body, which the power of body, the whole time you have thought he's got that.
Yes.
Right? And you go, I wonder what that's going to be.
Uh-huh.
It means he's invincible. It means he's made out of stone. Like because he's getting hit by everything and nothing. He's bouncing off. He gets thrown off 2 stories and he's like, oh my God, I'm okay.
Yeah. Which is great.
Another one, a body bag, again, falls from a very large distance. And he's like, well, fine, I got it.
That was a cool moment because Jimmy is possessed by Kokushuko.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I can tell I'm not going to be able to kill you, so I'm going to kill Jimmy. And he tries to like kill himself.
Yeah.
That's a cool element
idea.
of it.
Yes.
Very inconsequential.
No.
But a cool moment, a cool little beat. So finally, in the midst of all this, somehow the medallion gets dropped, which like you just found out this thing gives you invincibility. Grip it a little bit. Like this is not the Seahawks on the 1 yard line. Like grip it a little bit. Call a different play. Koga gets it because it was dropped, and his power now is that he turns into 2 ugly dudes with swords, and the lights turn off.
Who are much worse.
So much worse than either Kokushuko, Billy, or Jimmy,
or generic henchmen.
Yes. They're bad at fighting. They really dropped the ball. I don't know what Kokushugo's plan was. Is that Kokushugo as 2 different people? I don't know.
Is it like a Pacific Rim thing?
Right.
You know, like,
and it's also like, because at this point, Jimmy and Billy
are powerless.
Yeah. And they're beating the medallion.
Ultimate power.
So it was never powerful enough to save a village.
Yeah.
What did it do?
I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I don't think there's anything to get. I think they could have done a better job of like, there's an explosion or, people are just like flying out after touching them. And then maybe the lights come back on and that's what causes them to drop.
Like they're getting their ass kicked and then, But once again, that's a Bobo at the top on the second deck. Yeah. Not in the fight at all. Going like, turn the lights on. And everyone's like, oh, okay, let's listen to that thing.
For some reason, it's never explained to us why the lights.
He looks like Krang.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
he does look like Krang. Yeah. It's never explained to us why the lights have any effect on these two old crusty ninjas. And again, it goes back to my point of like Kogo is way more powerful with the 1 medallion. Just leave it. Possess the president. Do whatever it takes. That's it. That's how you own one major American city. So they kick their ass. Yeah. And they're Satori, Billy and Jimmy kick the asses of these 2 ninjas, and Satori Zoran from Power Rangers her way into the scene as like this energy. Yeah, he's disembodied head.
Anakin Skywalker,
or something like that.
Yoda,
tells them nothing really. Like doesn't do much with this limited time to speak with her 2 guardians or guarded.
And so many questions. If you saw a dead person, you'd be like, "What's the afterlife like?"
That's number 1 with a bullet would be that.
Yeah.
Is there heaven? Should I be a better person?
Yeah.
That would be more.
Tell me more. Yes. And she's just like, "You are living a good life. Goodbye." You're like, "What the hell does that mean?" You know?
Do I need these medallions anymore?
Does this mean anything?
Is it better there? Because I'll just slit my own wrist right now. But so one thing that we didn't go over is there's this scene where the cops, before this whole fight happens, where they're like, we need to, the police sergeant is like, we need to go out there and we need to get this city back in order. And they're like, we can't, the gangs are there. They're going to kick our ass. Curfew's over, or curfew's on. Yeah. We're going to die. He's like, you guys let me down. After the fight has taken place, after the gangs have been subdued, after Kokushugo has been defeated, the cops roll up and they're like, we're here, guys. The gangs give them a standing ovation.
Yeah, they're like, wow. They're honored. Like, this is unbelievable. I can't believe that you would be so brave.
So either the comment is the police did somehow come to save the day, or maybe it was paid for by like a police union or something. And
the LA police union. Well, early 90s was not a good time for them. So
yeah, exactly. Make us look good. Or it's a joke about how little they actually did and yet how they get appraisal for it anyway. I don't know.
Because like I was thinking about Starship Troopers recently, like a really good movie.
Oh, it's a great movie.
So clearly,
I read the book actually. It was
did you really? Yeah, I didn't even know it was a book. Yeah. But so clearly a farce on like fascism and the military industrial complex. And it is so funny. There's people out there like, that's not what it's about. And you're like, that is so very much what it's about.
100% what it's about.
They're making fun of you.
Those are the same people who are like, that's Stephen Colbert. he knows what's up.
Yeah, I don't like him now. I liked him before.
Yeah,
though.
yeah,
And
yeah.
you're like, yeah, okay,
When
okay.
they didn't understand he was being ironic.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. But it's the same thing with this. With this one, it is a little bit up for interpretation. Like, okay, so wait, because the chief of police is just like, guys, let's take the fight to them, and everyone's like, I don't know, and he's the only one that goes out.
Yes.
Drives his car, seems to face no resistance whatsoever. Shows up after the fight's done.
Yes.
And then everyone's like, wow.
And
you're the
then,
best,
like
great.
his lieutenant is like, I'm here now. And he's like, fucking, you could have come with me.
Yeah,
I was here alone. I was prepared to die.
4 spots in the car, man. Like,
Yeah,
you took a
exactly.
separate ride.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's when Marion goes, listen, sirens. And
Yes.
smiles, and I'm like, that has never been a happy line in ever. You know, like,
Especially in LA at this time. So we get this weird kind of wrapping up of the story. Billy and Jimmy are powerful or something. They do. I think they do keep the medallions separate.
yes.
And they assume that Jimmy this whole time assumes that Billy is like possessed a Bobo or something. And
Yeah.
then the movie ends where a Bobo is driving them. He's like, I want to be a good guy now. And they're like, all right. And he drives them and they scream. And that's the end of the movie.
The other one too is they jump inside of Kokushogo's body and say,
Oh,
like,
right.
They're gonna
Yes.
say, and he's like, I did everything. You got it, officer. Time to take me away.
Here's
because
a check for $127 million, which
Billy was in his body.
Yes.
saying all this stuff, and then leaves his body the second the handcuffs are on, and he's like, what did I say?
Mm-hmm.
Really good at acting from Robert Patrick too.
and the second best line of the movie next to I just want to take over one major American city. The second best line is, you thought I was evil. Wait till you hear from my lawyers.
Yes,
Very funny.
Loved it.
Very,
so
very funny.
good. You
Yeah.
thought I was evil.
Yeah.
And to the point that I thought they were going to be like a bunch of monsters or something like that. Like I was expecting like suits and briefcase and monster.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then they get into the car with a Bobo, and like it's I don't know, like
What happens tomorrow? They have all this. Do they enter the karate tournament with these medallions and just fucking eat, like just dominate?
just like punch someone's heart through
Yes.
the building, like just like it hasn't landed yet.
They start the Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The other thing we didn't talk about is the suits they get. Sorry.
Oh, right.
So when they become the ultimate double dragon, they wear their suits, which are from the game.
Yes.
Which look like somebody's really nice decorative pillow, but spread out into a gi. Like it looks like a pillow that they put the Fabergé egg on top.
Yes.
Like really nice, but like quilted and stuff
Yes.
like that. And to the
Not ideal for fighting.
No, they look warm.
Yes.
Like, they look so warm. It looks like a big quilt. And to the point that they even kind of make fun of it a little bit. And they're
Yeah.
like, at least I'm not wearing blue. He goes, what's wrong with blue?
Yeah.
Genuinely the only good acting Scott Wolf did all the time.
Yes.
Where he got self-conscious. He goes, what's wrong with blue?
Yeah, exactly.
I thought that was very funny.
It was
But
good, and you know, it wraps up in a typical '90s way where Scott Wolf and Billy gets the girl. The bad guy goes away in handcuffs. One of the evil people switches sides and they're friends again. And then you get kind of like a post-credit sequence, which is maybe the best part of the movie.
I've been waiting the whole time to talk about the two henchmen who have the same facial hair and up until this point have not said a single word.
Right.
This is kind of an important part.
Yes.
Is that they are secret good martial artists. And one of them is Ali Young, who is a very famous stunt actor in movies. Like he's in Die Hard. He's the one that eats like the chocolate bar in the lobby.
Yep.
It's really funny and he's really good. But they haven't said a single thing this whole time. Now they are walking away down a highway in LA, like holding up like a sign, like trying to hitchhike away
Yes.
because their master is now gone.
Yes.
And they're like, what are we going to do now? And they talk like they are Statler and Waldorf.
Yes.
They talk like two New Yorkers that are like two stooges kind of thing. And they're just like, well, I said not to do that. And he's like, why do you say that? And I'm like, no way that was their voice the whole time.
100%.
Oh my God.
Was funny. And the signs they have is Will Hench for food.
That is
and like
so
looking
funny.
for like a mean CEO or something like that.
Oh.
Like something. Yeah, looking for an evil boss. Something
Where
like that.
was
Yeah.
this
That
all
was great.
movie? Also, they are 50 feet away and walking the other direction, so you can't see their mouth.
Yeah.
So clearly it was just two comedians like
True,
riffing
true,
into a
true.
microphone.
Yeah.
But it was so funny and so odd. It was like out of a Woody Allen movie.
That's the thing. There are elements of this movie that there's something good here, and it's held back by the 20-minute action sequences and the need to connect Double Dragon to this.
Yes.
Like there is a decent movie in this. There are funny writers involved. The VFX are like pretty good.
Pretty good. The shadow thing is good.
The shadow thing looks great. Nothing was so bad that it was laughable
No.
in terms of the graphics and all that. But all in all, the movie was a fucking mess.
Yeah.
It was all over the place. It, like you said, it was written by children. it was hard to watch, but at least it took such a big swing in so many ways that it gave us this much to talk about.
Oh, 100%. I think the other thing that's kind of, important is that like they would go they would shoehorn these action scenes in because they're like, that's what you need to do here. It's Double Dragon.
Yes.
It's about martial arts. And the problem was every 30 seconds within the martial arts, one of the characters had to go like, well, this is crazy.
Yes.
And you're like, I get that's video games. I get that is legitimately video games.
Yeah.
Video games don't have moments of silence, like prolonged silence.
Right.
They would need to inject character lines
Right.
here and there. And it was just like, you just start realizing you're like, oh my God, that is so annoying. Just fight each other. Jesus Christ.
It's like the equivalent of like when you're playing the Ninja Turtles game and you fall in the sewers and it's like, who turned out the lights?
Yeah.
Like there's always like a weird little thing. Like that's what
Exactly.
they were injecting into it. I understand what they tried to do. Thank God we've learned that doesn't work as a one-to-one translation, especially when like this wasn't a one-to-one translation. It was just like
it was a 2-for-1 translation.
Double Dragon.
Yeah,
It was a Double Dragon. It was more like a generic movie with a Double Dragon skin, and the way they video gamed it was by injecting familiar video game tropes into it, and that doesn't work, and we know that doesn't work, and that's why we get movies like Double Dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to put how to tie this all up neatly. I would say this is not a movie to watch because you're like, this is going to be entertaining. Now, I will say, were you entertained the whole time?
I was.
That second half drags.
No, that's the thing is there was a point in the second half when I was like, I no longer am finding things to talk about. I'm just waiting for the movie to end. In the first half, there are during the world building and the introduction of new characters and the weird exposition, there's enough to talk about. And then you just get really generic scenes for a solid 40 minutes or so.
I would say yes. Create a drinking game, get stoned and watch it with friends.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't go like Friday night, 8 o'clock. It's movie time for me. You know, I'm going to pop some popcorn. No, this is not that movie.
But it is available on Amazon Prime. So if you subscribe to Amazon Prime, Prime Video, you know,
you're already paying for it.
You're already paying for it. Whether you like it or not, you are paying for Double Dragon.
Oh my goodness, Double Dragon. Well, let us know what you thought of Double Dragon, either because you've seen it previously or you're going to see it again because of this. And let us know next time you guys want us to do a movie. We'll probably do one again soon.
Yeah,
okay?
Thanks for the recommendation. And if you have any other similar ones, maybe try to recommend a good one.
No, but yeah, we can't wait to. Video game or not, we'll do another movie for sure.
Yeah.
So we love every single one of you, and we can't wait to talk to you soon. My name is Andrew Bascom, and with me as always is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself,
Mikey Aaronworth.
This is the Retrograde Podcast.
Game over. What's up, chicken butt?
Okay, I forgot about that line. A Bobo comes around going like, time to drive the car. And he goes, what's up, chicken butt? And everyone's like, oh, a Bobo. And I was like, where did that come from?
Furnished by Sad Styles Productions.
How long do you think that lasts?
What, a Bobo?
His turn towards good.
Oh, I think they find him in a river in a week. Big bloated mess.
He already was a big bloated. He's alive. He's just in a river.
Somebody tip me over.